Earth was dismissed as a backwater dirtball, crawling with primitive savages who barely discovered spaceflight, until the world's most advanced telescope peered into space and spotted an alien invasion fleet coming to turn Earth into cosmic paste. The observatory's gleaming white domes stood solemnly beneath the dim light of a sickle moon. The night shift crew, bleary-eyed from gazing at flickering screens in the dark, had mostly cleared out. All but one. 28-year-old Zachary Wilson hunched over his keyboard, tired eyes scanning lines of data that streamed across his monitor. He was searching for anomalies, any sign of something out of the ordinary amidst the vast emptiness of space. Most nights, he found nothing. This time his screen lit up with a pulsing red dot. At first he dismissed it as an error, a glitch in the system. But as Zachary checked the readings again, his heart rate quickened. The anomaly was real, and it was on a direct course for Earth. He ran the numbers 3 times to be sure, watching the screen with increasing dread as the results came back the same each time. Something massive was moving towards the planet at an astonishing velocity, and it was close. Zachary checked his watch. Just after 2 a.m. The object would reach Earth's orbit in a matter of days. "Dr. Jansen, you need to see this," he called out, his voice echoing in the empty observatory. His supervising professor appeared in the doorway a few moments later, yawning. "What is it, Zach? Another false alarm?" Zachary shook his head. "No, sir. This is the real deal. We've got an unidentified object heading straight for us, and it's big." The professor furrowed his brow as he scanned the data on Zachary's screen. His expression shifted from skepticism to alarm. "My God, you're right. It's not a natural object." He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Dr. Hawthorne at NASA and the Secretary of Defense. The President needs to hear about this immediately." In a matter of hours, the world turned upside down. News of the approaching vessel spread like wildfire, igniting mass panic on every continent. People flooded into the streets, some sobbing, others shouting in desperate rage at the sky. Martial law was declared in a futile attempt to maintain order. At the Pentagon, Zachary found himself in a room full of grim-faced generals and wide-eyed politicians, all bombarding him with questions he couldn't answer. They wanted to know what the ship was, where it came from, and what it wanted. But all Zachary could tell them was the cold equations of its trajectory. The rest was a horrifying mystery. The first sight of the alien craft as it slipped into Earth's orbit stopped the world in its tracks. It was a behemoth of black metal, bristling with jagged spines and pulsing with ominous red lights. A swarm of smaller ships detached from its hull, descending on the planet's major cities like hungry insects. Tanks and planes scrambled to face them, but it was no use. They were swatted from the sky like gnats. As smoke billowed from burning cities and the alien fleet hung in the sky like an angry fist, one thought gripped Zachary's mind, pounding in his skull like a drumbeat of doom. They were here. And humanity was powerless to stop them. All he could do was watch, and pray that this wasn't the end. Days crawled by with agonizing slowness as the alien ships hovered silently in the sky. The world held its breath, waiting for the hammer to fall. Then, without warning, a small shuttle detached from the looming mothership and descended towards Central Park, like a gleaming silver bullet. The city watched, transfixed, as the craft touched down on the grass, scorching the earth beneath it. A hush fell over the gathered crowd as the shuttle's door hissed open. A tall, slender figure emerged, its form obscured by a shimmering black cloak. It moved with an eerie grace, gliding down the ramp and onto the soil of Earth. As it reached up to lower its hood, the world saw its face for the first time. It was humanoid but strangely elongated, with high cheekbones and golden eyes that gleamed with cold intelligence. "People of Earth," the creature said, its voice a melodic whisper that carried across the silent park. "I am Jackson, emissary of the Ladosian Empire. We come in peace." In a televised address beamed across every screen on the planet, Jackson spun a tale that chilled Zachary to the bone. The Ladosians, he claimed, had been watching Earth for centuries, studying humanity's slow crawl towards the stars. But in their eyes, Earth's technology was laughably primitive, too crude to be of any interest to the wider galaxy. However, Jackson continued, his golden eyes glinting, your planet occupies a strategically valuable location. The Ledosian Empire intends to establish a military outpost on your moon to safeguard our interests in this sector. In exchange for your cooperation, we are prepared to share some of our advanced technology with you. The world erupted into chaos. In the halls of power, leaders argued furiously over how to respond. Some saw the Ledosians' offer as a golden opportunity, a chance to leap forward decades in scientific understanding. Others viewed it as a barely concealed attempt at colonization, a way for the aliens to dig their claws into Earth. Zachary, poring over every scrap of data he could find on the Ledosians, began to notice cracks in Jackson's story. Little inconsistencies, details that didn't quite add up. The more he dug, the more he became convinced that the aliens were hiding something. And then he found it, buried in the depths of old government files, a grainy photograph of a crashed spacecraft, surrounded by suited figures. The ship's lines were eerily similar to the Ledosian shuttle. The date on the photograph was from the 1960s. Heart-pounding, Zachary reached for his phone. He had to get this information to someone, anyone who would listen, but before he could dial, the door to his office burst open. Men in dark suits poured in, their faces grim. Zachary found himself slammed against the wall, his arms wrenched behind his back. "Zachary Wilson," one of the men said, his voice cold, "you are under arrest for violating the Extraterrestrial Secrecy Act and undermining our negotiations with the Ledosians." As he was dragged away, his evidence left scattered on the floor, Zachary could only watch helplessly. Sitting in a cold, dark cell, he replayed Jackson's words in his mind, over and over again. A sense of dread settled over him like a shroud. What if the Ledosians' technology wasn't a gift, but a Trojan horse? What if in welcoming them to Earth, humanity was opening the door to its own destruction? Zachary shivered, pulling his knees to his chest. He couldn't shake the feeling that, despite Jackson's reassurances, the world was walking blindly into a trap. The cell door creaked open, and a shadowy figure slipped inside. Zachary squinted into the darkness, his heart pounding as the stranger approached. The man's face was obscured by a hooded cloak, but his voice was low and urgent. "Zachary Wilson," he said, "I know you have questions about the Ledosians, and I have answers." Zachary leaned forward, his hands gripping the edge of the cot. "Who are you?" The man lowered his hood, revealing a weathered face and piercing blue eyes. "My name is Marcus. I'm part of an organization that has been preparing for this moment for a long time. We've been watching the skies, waiting for the day when humanity would make contact with an alien race." "But the Ledosian, they said they come in peace," Zachary said, his voice wavering. Marcus shook his head. "They're lying. The Ledosians have been to Earth before, decades ago. They crashed here, and we recovered their technology. But they've been stealing from us, reverse engineering our own designs to build their empire." Zachary's mind reeled. The photograph he had found, the crashed spacecraft. It all made sense now. What do they want with us? "They want to use Earth as a base for their conquest of the galaxy," Marcus said grimly. "And they'll enslave humanity to do it, unless we stop them." He held out a hand to Zachary. "Join us, help us fight back against the Ledosians, or stay here and watch as your world falls." Zachary hesitated for only a moment before grasping Marcus's hand. "I'm in." The escape from the facility was a blur of shadows and silent footsteps. Zachary followed Marcus through winding corridors and out into the night, where a sleek black car waited. They sped through the darkened streets, the city lights blurring past the windows. The car pulled into an underground garage, and Marcus led Zachary into a hidden elevator. They descended deep into the earth, emerging into a vast, high-tech facility bustling with activity. Scientists hunched over glowing screens, while operatives in black tactical gear moved with purpose. "Welcome to the Resistance," Marcus said, gesturing around the room. "This is where we've been working to uncover the truth about the Ledosians and develop the technology to stop them." Zachary was introduced to a team of brilliant minds, engineers, physicists, and computer experts who had been analyzing the stolen Ledosian technology for years. They pored over schematics and simulations, working feverishly to understand the intricacies of the alien systems. As the days turned into weeks, Zachary threw himself into the work, his mind racing with possibilities. But even as they made progress, the situation on the surface grew more dire. Jackson's demands became more aggressive, his true intentions clear. The Ledosians were not here to share their technology, they were here to conquer. Tensions rose to a breaking point, and the resistance received chilling news. The Ledosians were moving their forces into position, preparing for a final strike against Earth. Time was running out. Zachary and his team worked around the clock, desperate to complete their plan. They had developed a way to disrupt the Ledosian systems, a backdoor into their technology that could cripple their fleet. But as they prepared to put the plan into action, a terrible realization dawned on them. They had underestimated the Ledosians. The aliens' technology was more advanced than they had ever imagined, their power beyond anything humanity had faced before. As the team stared at the screens, watching the Ledosian ships move into formation above the planet, a cold dread settled over them. This was not just a battle for Earth. This was a fight for the fate of the galaxy itself. The resistance base buzzed with frantic energy as Zachary and his team prepared for their desperate mission. They huddled around a holographic display of the Ledosian mothership, studying its intricate corridors and security systems. The virus, their last hope, glowed on a data drive in Zachary's hand. "That's a suicide mission," Marcus said grimly, his face etched with worry. "But it's our only chance." Zachary nodded, his jaw set with grim determination. He turned to his team, a ragtag group of soldiers and hackers. "We all knew the risks when we signed up for this. But if we don't try, Earth falls. It's as simple as that." They boarded the stolen Ledosian shuttle, its sleek black hull gleaming under the harsh lights of the hangar. As they rocketed into the night sky, Zachary's heart pounded in his chest. The mothership loomed before them, a monstrous shadow blotting out the stars. The shuttle shuddered as it slipped through the alien defenses, skimming the hull of the mothership. They docked in a deserted hangar, the air thick with an eerie silence. The team moved quickly, their footsteps echoing through the strange, twisted corridors of the ship. Ledosian patrols stalked the halls, their weapons glowing with a sickly green light. Zachary and his team ducked into alcoves and maintenance shafts, holding their breath as the aliens passed by. They were close now, the communications hub just ahead. But as they rounded the final corner, a familiar figure stepped out of the shadows. Jackson, his golden eyes glinting with malice. "Zachary Wilson," he purred. "I had a feeling you would come." Zachary raised his weapon, his finger hovering over the trigger. "It's over, Jackson. We know the truth. We won't let you enslave Earth." Jackson laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the chamber. "Enslave? No, you misunderstand. We offer Earth a chance to join us, to take its rightful place in the galaxy. Imagine the power you could wield, the worlds you could conquer." For a moment Zachary wavered. The promise of power, of greatness, tugged at his mind. But then he thought of Earth, of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. He shook his head. "No, we'll fight you to the last." Jackson's face twisted with rage. He raised his hand, a ball of crackling energy forming in his palm. But Zachary was faster. He lunged forward, slamming the data drive into the communications console. The virus uploaded with a whir, spreading through the Ledosian systems like a plague. And then all hell broke loose. The alarms blared as the virus tore through the ship, disabling weapons and shields. Jackson roared with fury, unleashing a blast of energy that sent Zachary flying. He crashed into the wall, pain exploding through his body, but he struggled to his feet, his team rallying around him. They fought their way back to the shuttle, Ledosian soldiers falling before them. But Jackson was relentless, his power fueled by a desperate rage. He appeared before them, blocking their path. "You think you've won?" he snarled. "This is only the beginning. The Ledosian Empire will rise and Earth will burn. Zachary charged forward, his weapon blazing. Jackson's energy beam sliced through his armor, burning into his flesh, but he didn't stop. With a final, desperate push, he rammed into Jackson, sending them both tumbling to the floor. The shuttle's engines roared to life, the team dragging Zachary's broken body aboard. As they blasted away from the mothership, explosions blooming across its hull, Zachary slumped against the wall, his vision dimming. He could feel his life slipping away, but he clung to one final thought. They had done it. Earth was safe, at least for now, but as he drifted into the dark, he knew that the war was far from over. The Ledosians would return, their hunger for conquest undiminished, and Earth would need to be ready. The world lay in ruins, a shattered remnant of its former self. Zachary stumbled through the debris-strewn streets, his breath rasping in his throat. The once vibrant city was now a ghost town, its buildings crumbling, its windows dark. The only sound was the wind, whistling through the empty streets like a mournful cry. Zachary had never felt so alone. The weight of the world seemed to press down on his shoulders, threatening to crush him. He had saved humanity from the Ledosians, but at what cost? Millions were dead, cities lay in ruins, and now a new threat loomed on the horizon. The virus he had unleashed on the Ledosian mothership had mutated, spreading to Earth's own computer systems. Power grids failed, communication networks collapsed, and essential services ground to a halt. Society teetered on the brink of collapse, and Zachary knew that it was only a matter of time before things fell apart completely. As he wandered through the ruined city, Zachary's mind raced with questions. What would become of humanity now? How could they possibly rebuild from this devastation? And what of the other alien races that Jackson had spoken of, the ones that were even more powerful and advanced than the Ledosians? Zachary shuddered at the thought. He had seen firsthand the destructive power of the Ledosians, had witnessed the carnage they had wrought. If there were other races out there, even more powerful than them, what hope did humanity have? A sound caught his attention, and Zachary whirled around, his heart pounding. There, emerging from the shadows of a ruined building, was a familiar figure. Jackson, his golden eyes glinting in the dim light. "You," Zachary breathed, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anger. "I thought you were dead." Jackson smiled, a cold, cruel smile that sent shivers down Zachary's spine. "You should know by now, Zachary, that I am not so easily killed." He stepped forward, his cloak swirling around him like a living thing. "Look around you," he said, gesturing to the ruined city. "This is the future that awaits humanity. Chaos, destruction, despair. You may have defeated the Ledosians, but you have only delayed the inevitable." Zachary shook his head, his fists clenching at his sides. "No," he said, his voice growing stronger. "We will rebuild. We will find a way." But Jackson only laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the empty streets. "You are a fool, Zachary. You cannot hope to stand against the forces that are coming. The Ledosians were only the beginning. There are countless other races out there, each more powerful than the last, and they will come for you sooner or later." He stepped closer, his eyes boring into Zachary's. "But there is a way," he said, his voice low and urgent. "The Ledosian technology, the very thing that brought us to this point, it is also the key to our salvation. Embrace it, Zachary. Use it to make humanity stronger, to prepare for the battles to come." Zachary hesitated, his mind reeling. He knew that Jackson was right, that humanity was not ready for what was coming, but the thought of embracing the Ledosian technology, the very thing that had caused so much destruction, it felt wrong, like a betrayal of everything he had fought for. In the end, he made his choice. "No," he said, his voice firm and unwavering. "I will not lead humanity down that path. We will find our own way, through cooperation and shared responsibility. We will build a new world, one that is based on our own strength and resilience." Jackson's face twisted with rage, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. "You are making a mistake, Zachary," he hissed, "one that you will come to regret." But Zachary stood his ground, his resolve unwavering. "We will see," he said, his voice calm and steady. "But I have faith in humanity. We will overcome this and any other challenge that comes our way." And with that, he turned and walked away, leaving Jackson standing alone in the ruins of the city. The road ahead would be long and hard, but Zachary knew that it was the only path forward. Humanity would rebuild, stronger and more united than ever before. As he climbed to the top of a nearby hill, Zachary looked out over the ruined city, his heart heavy with the weight of all that had been lost. But even amidst the destruction, he could see the first signs of hope. The faint glimmer of lights in the distance, the sound of voices raised in song. Humanity would endure as it always had, and as Zachary looked up at the stars, he couldn't help but wonder what other challenges and opportunities the universe had in store for them. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.